The following chapter contains description of murder and violence. Journey to the West, an audio drama series.
Chapter 30, Part 1. We speak now of the monster who had Shamak tied up. He neither killed, nor beat him, nor insulted him. With his steel broadsword in hand, he secretly thought to himself, "The tongue monk is a man of a superior nation, so he must understand the meaning of propriety. It is very unlikely that he would send his disciples to come capture me after I spared his life. Alas, it is probably because my wife sent some letter back to her kingdom and let the word out. Let me go ask of her." The monster suddenly felt a sense of ferocity rising inside as he thought about killing the princess. The princess had no idea of what had just taken place. She had barely finished putting on her makeup when she headed to the front. What she saw was the monster staring at her with angry eyes and furrowed brows, gritting his teeth. Still greeting him with a smiling face, the princess asked, "What is putting you in such a mood, my dear?" The monster snorted and yelled, "You nasty woman with a bitch's heart! You haven't a shred of human decency. When I first brought you here, you didn't utter a word of complaint. You dressed yourself up with brocade and gold. Whatever you were missing, I would go look for it. Throughout the 4 seasons, you lived from my labor, and every single day we shared our deep love. Why are you only thinking of your parents and not showing any heart for our marriage?" The princess heard this and became so frightened she prostrated on the ground and said, "Oh, my dear, why are you bringing up words of separation today?" The monster answered, "I don't know which one of us is the one who wants the separation. I caught the tongue monk and planned to have him cooked. Why did you set him free without telling me first? You secretly wrote a letter and asked him to deliver it on your behalf. Otherwise, why did those 2 monks once again fight outside my gates and ask for your return? Is this not your own doing?" The princess said, "My darling, you have wronged me. When have I ever sent a letter away?" The old monster said, "You are still denying it. I've got an opponent captured here. Can't he act as witness?" The princess asked, "Who is it?" The old monster answered, "The tongue monk's second disciple named Shamak." As it turns out, no one accepts their end even when they're caught in a dead end. The princess could only keep up with her denial. She said, "My dear, please calm yourself. I will accompany you to go question him. If there is indeed a letter, I'll gladly let you beat me to death. If there was no such letter, wouldn't you be killing your dearie unjustly?" The monster heard her words and, without another sound, stretched forth his shovel-sized indigo hand and seized the hair of the esteemed lady. He dragged her forward before tossing her onto the ground. Holding his steel broadsword, he came over to interrogate Shamak. With a snort, he yelled, "Shamak, when the 2 of you dared start a fight at my gates, was it because this woman delivered a letter to her kingdom and the king sent you here?" When Shamak saw the monster ferociously throw the princess onto the ground before wielding his broadsword, about to kill her, he secretly thought to himself, "The fact is, she sent the letter and saved my master. That was one enormous favor. If I speak the truth and he killed the princess, wouldn't that be repaying kindness with malice? Fine. Elder Shah here has been with my master for all this time without even the tiniest of feet in return. Since I'm already tied here today, I shall just give up my life to return master's favor." And so he shouted, "Mind your manners, master. What is this letter she sent that you are accusing her of wrongdoing, even threatening to kill her? There is a reason we came to ask for the princess from you. It was all because you caught my master and put him in the cave. My master happened to see the way the princess looked and moved. When we reached the precious elephant kingdom to process our documents, the emperor was showing the princess's portraits all over the place and asking people about her. It was because he showed my master the image of the princess and asked if he saw her while on his way that he mentioned her. That's how the king knew she was his daughter. He then awarded us with imperial wine and instructed us to come get you and return the princess to her palace. That is the truth. When has there ever been a letter? If you wish to kill, then kill Elder Shah here instead. Don't you wrong the innocent and tarnish the morals of heaven." The monster saw how heroically Shamak made his case, so he threw away the brushsword and embraced the princess with both arms, saying, "I got rough with you all of a sudden and offended you. Please don't blame me. Please don't." He then helped her tidy her hair before putting her precious buns back in place. Tenderly they smiled and soft were their expressions. He then appealed to her good graces by saying comforting words before putting her in the top seat and begging for her forgiveness. The princess was a woman with a fluid heart. She saw him apologize for his mistakes, so she changed her mind and said, "Oh, my dear, if you still care for our love, do loosen the ropes on that Shamonk's body a little bit." The old monster heard that and immediately ordered the little ones to loosen the ropes and have him locked up instead. Shamak saw the ropes were untied and replaced with a locked room, so he stood up and thought to himself in delight, "As the ancients said, convenience to others is really convenience to oneself. If I didn't help her get away, how would she have loosened my bonds?" The old monster later arranged a banquet to apologize to the princess and help her calm down. He drank till he was half drunk before changing into an outfit with bright colors. He also took a decorated broadsword and hung it on his waist. With a turn of his hand, he touched the princess and asked, "Dear wife, you shall enjoy the feast at home and look after our 2 children. Don't you let Shamak go. While the tongue monk is in your kingdom, I might as well head there to meet the family as soon as possible." The princess asked, "What family are you meeting?" The old monster said, "Your king father, that's who I'm meeting. I am his imperial son-in-law. He's my father-in-law. Why shouldn't we meet?" The princess said, "You can't go." The old monster asked, "Why not?" The princess explained, "My king father did not get the role of the kingdom by force. It's a nation he inherited from his ancestors. When he was really young, he rose to the throne as the heir without ever stepping far from the city gates. He has never met a brutish man like you. If your hideous appearances appeared before him and gave him a good scare, that wouldn't be very nice, would it? I'd rather you not go meet him." The old monster said, "If that's the case, I shall just turn into someone handsome." The princess said, "Try transforming and let me have a look." Splendid monster! And so, in the middle of the banquet seats, he shook his body and transformed into a handsome man. He really had refined features and an upright torso. Quite a standard weight of speech, and youthful were his movements. Brilliantly erudite, a poem came easy from his mind. Stunningly beautiful, like male beauties we know from the past. Covering his dark hair was a cap the shape of the magpie tail. Swaying wide sleeves was a robe made of jade and silk. Dark boots on his feet, decorated with patterns. A bright belt on his waist, lined with sashes. A marvelous man he truly was, tall, elegant, and attractive indeed. The princess saw him and became overjoyed. The monster laughed and asked, "My dear wife, how did I do with the transformation?" The princess said, "Very well, so very well. Once you enter court, given how my king father never mistreats his relatives, he will certainly have all the officials invite you to stay for a banquet. When you are in the midst of drinking wine, do be very, very careful and not reveal your true face. If you expose yourself and leak the truth, it won't end gracefully for us." The old monster said, "No need for all the instruction. I will know exactly what to do." Look at him, unleashing his cloud before soon arriving at the precious elephant kingdom. Ascending from the cloud and light, he then made his way outside the palace gates. He said to the custodian of the gate, "The 3rd imperial son-in-law is here specifically to have an audience with the throne. Please deliver this message on my behalf." The custodian of the yellow gate thereby came before the white jade steps and reported, "Your Majesty, a 3rd imperial son-in-law is here to have an audience with the throne. He is now outside the palace gates awaiting your summons." The king was just chatting with the tongue monk when he suddenly heard about this 3rd imperial son-in-law. So he asked his officials, "We only have 2 imperial sons-in-law. Where did this 3rd imperial son-in-law come from?" The officials said, "The 3rd imperial son-in-law must be that monster." The king asked, "Would it be a good idea to summon him inside?" Panicking, the elder said, "Your Majesty, they are monster spirits. Those without a spirit are ones without wit. They know about the past and future and are capable of moving clouds and mist. They can come in just fine with or without your summons. Why not just summon him inside and spare ourselves the quarrel?" The king then approved of the summons and ordered the monster to come before the golden steps. He then paid his respect to the throne with all the usual ceremony. The officials saw how beautiful he was and dared not accuse him of being a monster. Fleshly eyes and mortal bodies they had, thinking he was a good man. The king saw him looking so tall and upright and took him for a talented pillar of the state. He then asked, "Imperial son-in-law, where do you live? Where are your roots? When did you become a match with my princess? Why are you only uniting with your family now?" Kowtowing, the old monster answered, "Your Majesty the Lord, your subject is a resident of Wavy Moon Manor of Concave Bone Mountain to the east of the city." The king asked, "How far is that mountain from here?" The old monster answered, "Not very far, just 300 li." The king asked, "How did my princess arrive at 300 li away and marry you?" In flowery words, the monster answered with feigned emotions. "Your Majesty the Lord, your humble subject was quite fond of bows and horses since a young age. I hunted for a living. 13 years ago, I was out, leading about a dozen young servants. We unleashed our hawks and hounds when suddenly we saw a ferocious striped tiger carrying a girl on its back as it moved down the slope. It was your humble subject who used my bow to shoot an arrow which brought the tiger down. I then took the girl to my manor before waking her up with warm water, saving her life. I then asked where she came from, but she never uttered the word princess. Should she tell me that she was the 3rd princess of your Majesty, I would not have dared betray the heart and marry her without your permission. I would have instead reported to the Golden Horse and asked for a government position to distinguish myself. It was all because she said she was the daughter of a common man that your humble subject kept her at the manor. We found each other to be quite pleasant-looking and fell in love. That's why we've been married for so many years. When we were married, I planned to have that tiger slaughtered and invited all my relatives for a meal. It was Madam Princess who asked me to spare the creature. As for her reasoning, she gave several lines of profound words as follows. Owing to heaven and earth, we became man and wife. Lacking any go-between or witness, we were wed. In our past lives, a red thread must have had our feet tied, for a tiger becomes our matchmaker on this day. For those words alone, your humble subject unleashed the tiger and spared its life. That tiger, with the arrow wound still on its body, ran away with flailing claws and a wagging tail. We did not know that it managed to survive. For a few years it cultivated in the mountain before forging its body into one of a spirit. All it ever did was seduce and harm. Your subject heard from past years that there have been a few scripture seekers. They all said they were monks of the Great Tongue. It must be the tiger who harmed the tongue monks, stole their documents, and transformed into the scripture seeker before turning up in the palace now to coax you, your Majesty, my lord. Oh, your Majesty, my lord, the one sitting on the embroidered cushion is that ferocious tiger who carried the princess 13 years ago, not a real seeker of scripture. Then just you look at the indecisive king with his dim flesh and confused eyes. He could not recognize the monster's spirit, but instead took his mouth full of lies for truth, asking, My wise imperial son-in-law, how did you recognize that this monk is the tiger who carried the princess? The monster answered, Your Majesty, my lord, when living in the mountains, your subject made both food and clothing from tigers. I rise and rest with them. How could I not recognize it? The king asked, If so, could you get him to show his true form? The monster said, If you could let me have a cup of clear water, your subject will have him show his true form. The king then ordered his subordinates to fetch the water and hand it to the imperial son-in-law. The monster held the water in his hand, stood up, and moved forward. With a trick called Blind and Freeze, he recited a spell before spitting a mouthful of water onto the tongue monk and yelled, "Change!" The true form of the elder disappeared from the hall as he truly transformed into a ferocious striped tiger. The king and his subjects stared in unison, and that tiger had a white forehead and round head, a body with patterns and eyes like lightning, 4 limbs strong with 20 claws sharp. His teeth lined the mouth like a saw with pointy ears that joined his brows, menacing like a big cat and aggressive like a calf. Whiskers of steel glow like silver, his red tongue let out fumes of malice. A most fierce striped tiger this is, as his mighty aura blew across the palace. The king saw this and his soul flew out of his body. Terrified, the officials all ran for their lives. Several brave military officials, along with generals and guards, rushed forward and slashed wildly with all sorts of weapons. This time, if it weren't for the fact that the tongue monk was not destined to die here, even 20 monks would have turned to minced meat. It was all thanks to the Dings and Jias, guardians, chroniclers, and divine protectors who secretly guarded him from mid-air that the mortal weapons could not harm him. The officials engaged in much chaos until it got dark, when they finally managed to capture the tiger alive. Tied with ropes made of iron, he was locked in an iron cage and kept inside a palace hall. The king then released an edict to have the imperial kitchen arrange a grand banquet to thank the imperial son-in-law for saving the throne. Otherwise, he would have been harmed by that monk. That night, after the officials have dispersed, the monster moved into Yin An Dian, the Hall of Silver Peace. 18 palace maids were selected to perform music and dance, keeping the monster entertained as he drank on. Sitting alone in the top seat, the monster found his left and right lined with gorgeous beauties. Watch as he took his fill. He drank till the second watch when drunkenness took him over. He could not help but act out. Jumping up, he let out a loud laugh before revealing his true form. Menacing thoughts suddenly arose from the inside as he stretched out his huge, shovel-sized hands and pulled over a girl who was playing the pipa. With a crunch, he took a bite of her head. Terrified, the other 17 palace maids fled in all directions, trying to find shelter. Look at them, dashing in panic like blossoms braving a storm, throwing away their instruments just to cling to dear life. No one cared which direction they took or who bruised their pretty faces. Everyone wanted to escape and make it out with whatever was left in them. They all ran out, but none dared make a noise. It was deep into the night, and they could not bring themselves to frighten the throne. So they all just hid under short walls or eaves, still shaking in fear. We will speak no more of that. We return to the monster who sat there and helped himself to wine. With every cup he drank, he flipped the maid's body over and took a couple of bloody bites. While he was enjoying himself inside, those outside were spreading a rumor, saying, "The tongue monk is a tiger spirit." The news got out of control and made its way to the Golden Pavilion Lodge. No one was at the lodge at the time except for the white horse, who was eating hay at the stall. He was once the young dragon prince of the West Sea. Due to his violation of heavenly laws, he shed his horns and scales and transformed into a white horse. His task was to carry the tongue monk to the west for scriptures. When he suddenly heard people discussing how the tongue monk was a tiger spirit, he secretly thought to himself, "My master is clearly a good man. It must be a monster who turned him into a tiger spirit and put him in danger. What are we to do? What are we to do? Elder brother has been away for a while now, and there is no news from Bajie and Sha monk." He kept himself together until around the second watch, when everywhere had gone completely silent, before jumping up to say, "If I don't save the tongue monk now, then the merit is no more. No more." He couldn't help himself and shook off the reins and saddle. Hurriedly ascending, he quickly transformed into his dragon form. Riding on dark clouds, he reached into the skies to watch.